The story unfolds with an interesting rumor about a man in this world that even the armed groups are afraid of whenever they see him. His name is Peter, and the most surprising thing about Peter is that he is an older man in his 60s. It would have been better for him if he had died years ago, but unfortunately, Peter has been chased down by thousands of killers, and he has also lost all the assets he acquired throughout his life. And now, those after him threaten his loyalty to the organization, even though Peter is a legend among them. The scene shifts, where Peter is standing over the heaps of men he killed and only one guy left out of them. He recognizes that the man standing before him is Peter, even though Peter is wearing a funny mask on his face. The injured man is in shock to realize that Peter is still alive, even though he is legendary Peter when thousands of killers chase him down. Peter just walks towards the injured man calmly and tells him that the reason, even though thousands of killers are after him, they have never been able to find him is because the Peter they are looking for is no longer who he used to be. Then he takes off his mask, and the man is shocked when he sees the face of Peter as he can't believe his eyes and thinks that it is impossible what he is seeing. Peter casually points his gun at the man while smoking a cigarette and shoots him. The scene shifts to 3 months back, when Peter is standing in his bookstore. Meanwhile, he receives a call. The guy advises him to stop ignoring the calls and visit the hospital. The person on the call reminds him that if he continues to do that, then he will die in less than 3 months. But it looks like Peter is not afraid to death as he is gathering his mountain of pills. While settling the books in the racks, he thinks he has been handling death and life situations throughout his life, and how he gave the last 50 years of his life to the organization and admits that he doesn't regret anything. While sorting books, he comes across a book titled How to Take Portraits. He realizes that he has yet to take any photos of himself. He looks into the mirror while watching his old body carrying a book pile. That might be the only regret he has. A schoolgirl wearing a school uniform and holding her bag walks into his shop. She greets Peter and tells him she wants to buy a middle school textbook. Peter, sorting the books in the other corner of his shop, welcomes her while turning around with a customer-friendly persona and cracks a joke as he sells every book he has there except the one he doesn't. A student asks if he sells used textbooks. Peter replied that he had textbooks from the 1960s to 2020, including books from different countries, and Peter asked which one she liked and suggested she get the latest one. The girl explains that she wants these for her younger sibling. Peter assumes she is probably a student from the nearby high school, and he starts picking out the books for her. Peter notices that her name tag is green, so he concludes that she is a senior, which the girl confirms. She is impressed by Peter's sharpness and asks how he knows so much. Peter replies that he knows everything about everyone in the neighborhood. Peter brings out a set of brand new books, which shocks her. She explains that these are not the ones she wants to buy. She adds that she has only 1,001 Korean currency and can't buy all these brand new books. Peter smiles and tells her he no longer needs these so she can have them. The girl tries to refuse, but Peter tears off the book's plastic cover and tells her that these are no longer brand new. She tells him that he doesn't need to do that for her, but he assures her that it is okay. Just by looking into her eyes, Peter reveals to her that he knows how much she adores her younger sibling and tells her that she should be good to them while she has the chance. This surprises the girl. Peter adds that she will regret it if she doesn't. When Peter is packing the books for her, the girl calls him Grandpa while trying to get his attention, so Peter tells her she should call him Mr. The girl then asks Peter if he has ever regretted anything before. Peter tells her that their regrets increase as they live longer. Peter recalls a time when he had to leave his daughter so they both could stay alive. He tells the girl they can't do anything to change the past. Peter then tells her to go home and take care of her siblings and avoid the things she would regret later. Just then, the girl is about to stab Peter in the back, but it looks like Peter already knows that she has been sent here to kill him, and tells her that she should turn back and promises not to kill her if she does. Hearing this, the girl is shocked and wonders how he knows why she is here. Peter reveals that he has memorized the faces of every student at the high school. To confirm, Peter tells her that she tells him that she is a senior, but that the high school was built just 2 years ago. The girl realizes that Peter has caught her. Peter points out that the knife she carried with her smells of blood, a scent that he has been exposed to for many years of his life. He mocks her for attempting to hide the smell with cheap perfume. The girl decides to go ahead and attack him because she has already come so far and she has no other choice. She then takes the knife and tries to stab him, but suddenly starts to feel afraid that she will be the one who dies, but reminds herself that she is the one with a knife. Peter says she can still have the books because he knows what she said about her young sibling is real. Judging by how the girl speaks, Peter confirms that she is also from the same organization as him, and the girl realizes that she blew her cover when she used honorifics by accident. Peter tells her she is from Glory Orphanage like him, and their way of work has not changed yet. Peter claims that she is not trained well yet. Peter then tells her that Plan B occurs if their volunteer service fails in their organization. Suddenly, 2 other men crash into the store through the roof and start shooting them. Peter pushes the girl away and reveals that their organization, if the mission is unsuccessful, then the assassin needs to be neutralized. She notices that Peter got hit by one of the bullets and it went through his stomach. The other 2 men open fire again, and Peter tries to fight back by shooting at them too. But unfortunately, one of them grabs the girl while the other punches the older man and wonders how such a weak man could be Peter. Meanwhile, a man with octopus tattoo on his head arrives. His code name is 8-Legged Man, and he is the boss's informant. He talks about how Peter has the most extraordinary reputation in their organization and is the highest ranked agent, but now he's nothing about the disease. While lying on the floor, Peter tells them to come straight to the point and tell him the reason they want to kill him. In response, the 8-Legged tells him that the boss doesn't like him. Peter seems confused to hear that, so the informant explains that there's a massive bounty of 76 billion won on Peter's head, which thousands of killers would be trying to win the moment he steps out of the organization. Peter finds it funny that the bounty is the same amount in his bank account. The informant confirms that's indeed his money. The bounty is the money he saved up over the years while risking his life, but now that money would be going into someone else's hand, and the 8-Legged wants to be that person. 8-Legged asks Peter to die by his hands and punches him in the face, and the other man joins him. Peter is sent flying into the other room. They assume that Peter has been knocked out. The 8-Legged look disappointed as the fight ended so quickly and asks the other man to clean up the mess. 8-Legged looks closer at Peter, but Peter surprises him with a flashbang and escapes through the door. They realize that they have been tricked, and the 8-Legged orders his men to go after Peter as he couldn't have gone far with a bullet in his stomach. Those 2 men go out on a rainy night to search for Peter. It is raining heavily outside, and Peter is huffing in pain, lying in the park's playing area. Peter thinks that he is not in a position to fight back. He is bleeding badly, huffing in pain, and realizing that he is too old now. Peter thinks back about his life as he lived daily for the organization. At an early age, when other boys of his age were studying in school, Peter was learning how to swing a knife and kill people. When his age fellows were learning from schools, he was learning to wiretap and eavesdrop until his ears bled. When other guys were dating and romancing, he became a Russian spy, living with Frostbite 247. When others were planning their families, he was fighting against the terrorist groups to survive. Peter worked for this organization by constantly putting his life on the line. The situation changed when the new boss took over the organization's charges. The new boss feels Peter is too old, but Peter is sick and soft now, so he wants Peter to die. Peter is groaning in pain at the playground and recalls giving everything to the organization and never asking for anything in return, and now they are treating him in that way. Then he angrily questions himself, saying that his life is worthless for them. At least he doesn't deserve to be treated like that. Peter motivates himself that he can't die like that. He will not allow anyone to take his money. He then remembers his daughter, whom he left behind many years ago. He then unconsciously falls to the ground. He is bleeding badly. At the 8-Legged hideout, the other 2 killers are cooking something in the kitchen and talking about how they would have won the bounty if they had not let Peter slip away. The second man wonders why such a massive bounty is on the older man's head. The first man explains that it's probably the least they could do to respect such a legend. The second man is only after the money and doesn't care if Peter is a legend. He wants that money so much that he gives up his kickboxing championship title just to become a bounty hunter to kill the older man. By holding Peter's picture, they will kill him and take that bounty. Suddenly, they are interrupted by a man telling them that this is the only picture that shows his face. When they turn around, they are shocked to see Peter standing in front of them. But they realize that Peter is an older man, but the man standing in front of them is young. They assume that he's someone else wearing the same outfit. Peter himself admits that he doesn't know what happened and claims that when he woke up, he was already like this, and judging a bullet hole and blood on his shirt, Peter realized that he was him. The second man tells him he is in the wrong place. He assumes he is just a student and tells him he shouldn't be there. Peter tells him that he knows everything, that's why he is here, and then Peter grabs his hand and asks him to take him to the eight-legged man. Hearing this, they assume that this young man is also in their line of work. The second man tells him that he has to die to reduce the competition, and he tries to punch him, but Peter stops his fist with his palm. The man is shocked to see his strength and wonders if it might be the legend. Peter crushes the bones of his hand with his bare hand. A first man tries to stab Peter from behind, but Peter quickly turns around and lands several hits on him while he is in the air. The second man grabs a knife to fight and asks Peter who sent him here. Peter replies that the men who master cutlery weapons are third class at best. The man gets confused by this, but Peter continues by adding the men who mastered all weapons are second class, but those who can use anything as a weapon are first class. After saying this, Peter grabs a scarf nearby and wraps it around his hands to use it as a weapon. The man charges at Peter with the knife, but suddenly, Peter throws his knife away with that scarf, wrap it around the neck of that man, and throw him into the big pot of spaghetti while holding his neck and defeating the man. While lying on the floor, the man asks Peter who he is. Peter picks up the picture they took of him and remembers the bounty eight-legged told him if he leaves the organization. Peter confirms that that's the only picture they have of him. When he confirms it, Peter burns it while lighting a cigarette and claims that if thousands of men were after him, they would never find him because the old Peter they are looking for is already dead. He has become the younger version of himself when he opens his eyes. Peter has rejuvenated. The eight-legged is going back in their Mercedes car, and the girl is also with him. The eight-legged man says they lost Peter when they are about to catch him. Peter will be wanted everywhere soon, but they must catch him before that. Peter will also be dead soon due to cancer and suggests that he show some kindness to his subordinates because of his condition. Peter leaves the eight-legged hideout, and later he is staring at himself shirtless in a mirror. Peter can't believe what is happening to him and how he suddenly transformed into his younger age. The bullet that was in his stomach is now gone, and even the pain he was suffering due to cancer is also gone, even though he has no idea how it all happened. But most importantly, the bounty hunters can't recognize him now by his appearance. Peter knows they will always find the traces he leaves behind, but they will never see the older Peter they are searching for. He changes his clothes, as these are not fit for him now. Just then, Peter hears two thugs talking. Peter approaches them and tells them to take their cigarettes outside since they are in a non-smoking area. The thugs try to intimidate him, but Peter insists they go out. The fat one of them slaps Peter and tells him he will let him go since he is feeling good today, but don't look around them again. Peter walks away as he doesn't want to waste his time. The thugs think he is afraid of them, but Peter will lock the door and claim he will deal with them quickly. Peter walks towards them. The thugs are confident they will take him on and assume that Peter will teach them manners. Peter rolls their sleeves and tells them he will teach them a lesson for not respecting their elders. The fat thug again tries to slap Peter, but Peter lands a nasty punch on his stomach. He flies away and falls to the floor. The other thug pulls out his knife and tries to threaten Peter, asking him if he knows whom he is messing with. Peter replies that he doesn't know him, but Peter confirms that he is holding a pocket knife incorrectly. The thug looks confused, then Peter explains that he will cut his finger if he swings the knife the way he is holding it. Peter then thinks the person who will swing the knife doesn't have his arm in front of him. Then suddenly, the thug tries to swing his knife at Peter, but Peter manages to hit his hand holding the knife and disarm him quickly. After that, Peter swiftly hits him on the neck, making him fall to the ground while he is keeping his neck in pain. While standing in front of Thug, Peter tells him he doesn't try to stab him. If he did, then he should have died earlier. The thug begins to fear Peter and asks him for his identity. Peter doesn't know what kind of bad jobs he does for a living, but if he knows who Peter is, he must die here. Peter then grabs him by his shoulder and tells him that if he wants to know who he is, then he indeed has to die after that. Thug frightens and pees in his pant and says he will surely do legal things from now onwards. Peter then takes all of the thug's clothes and leaves him naked in the restroom. On his way out of the place, Peter checks his bank account and sees all his money has disappeared. He angrily thinks he has warned them not to touch it. He realized that they had started the war. Around himself, Peter hears two students talking about scholarships. One says they got a scholarship from the Glory Club, and the other admires him. Peter remembers the place where he grew up, Glory Orphanage, which was operated by a religious facility on a small scale, and now, after 50 years, they are supporting children who are suffering from terrible food shortages. Glory Club has grown to cover all the political and business world corners. It is a company Peter has been part of for many years. Now, Peter wants to dismantle this by his own hands. The scene shifts and Eight-Legged enters the butcher's shop, where a guy sitting on a chair asks him if he has come alone to capture him. Eight-Legged replies that he is not Peter, he is alone, which is enough for people like his level. The butcher says they will die soon if they keep on trusting in Peter. Eight-Legged replies, "Does it matter if someone else dies too early?" Eight-Legged wants to finish their introduction and wrap things up quickly, so finishing soon is less painful. The butcher smiles and says they have guests, so they prepare an entire supper for them, and he gathers his guards to surround the Eight-Legged. This is the Wagner Mercenary Base, the best private military company in the West since 1948. The head of the company thinks that Eight-Legged is not among the top 12 best in the Glory Club and wonders why he is so confident while standing there alone. Then he orders his men to attack Eight-Legged at once, but Eight-Legged kills them all in one go using his signature skill, entire body hypermobility. After seeing this, the leader falls to the ground united, and asks how an average human can do that. He yells for the killer to stay away from him, but Eight-Legged moves towards the leader and kills him. Eight-Legged enters his hideout with the girl earlier. She tells Eight-Legged that his assassin guys are dead, someone very carefully kills them, and he leaves no trace behind. Killer destroys all the security cameras as well. Eight-Legged assumes only one man can do that, and he's none other than Peter. Eight-Legged wonders what kind of tricks this older man has used to stay alive, and even managed to kill his men in his hideout. He thinks Peter's bounty will drop soon, and wants to kill him before anyone else. Eight-Legged orders the girl to go and find Peter's hideout and report him back. The girl stays silent a bit, thinking about the time back at the bookstore where the kind older man saved her life in an assassination attempt. The girl accepts the orders. After that, they walk into the restaurant. The waiter tells Eight-Legged that someone is waiting for him inside, and the waiter asks Peter if he has a particular reservation as it is not a working day. Peter looks up and explains that he has no reservations but comes here with a grudge. The Eight-Legged man asks if he pressed him for his tab or something in the past, but Peter says he is somehow correct as his tab is way too big. Peter glares at him and tells him the tab is about 76 billion. Peter says this to the legged man. He initially smiles and thinks it's just a joke, but he fears when he realizes what he is talking about and orders his man to lock the door. The Eight-Legged assumes that he might be connected to Peter and assures him that he won't be leaving the restaurant alive. The Eight-Legged looks curious to know who the young man is and how he knows about Peter's information. The Eight-Legged confirms that he is not from his Glory Club and doesn't even have information about this man. As the waiter loads his gun, the Eight-Legged wonders if the young man is Peter's secret child or his disciple. Eight-Legged corrects himself by remembering that Peter has always worked alone. Eight-Legged then offers Peter the chance to get out alive and gives Peter two options. One is to tell him the exact location of Peter and walk out alive, and the second is to fight and die with a bullet to his head. Peter replies Eight-Legged that he offers good choices, but Peter doesn't need anyone from it. Peter gives him option 3, which is that his name is Peter. Peter tells Eight-Legged that his name is Peter, and he is the one who kills his subordinates. Eight-Legged doesn't take it seriously as he is unsure what the young man is discussing. Peter replies that a young guy like him has terrible hearing, and Peter repeats that he killed his two subordinates. The Eight-Legged man is still not sure what's going on, and he doesn't believe Peter is the man sitting in front of him. He mentally debates himself about who the man is and why he would attack them. He calls out Peter, who he still thinks is an average student, and threatens him while the high school girl and the waiter pull out their weapons. The Eight-Legged asks again to reveal his relationship with Peter. Peter watches them as the girl pulls out her knife ready to fight. Peter tells the Eight-Legged man that there's one way he can find out about the relationship, and when the Eight-Legged man asks what it is, Peter tells him that he would have to kill him. Eight-Legged smiles and says he is best at killing people. He then gives his waiter the signal to shoot Peter and tells him to make sure that he can breathe after that. When the waiter pulls the trigger, Peter throws his chopstick so accurately that it hits the waiter's throat, and he falls to the ground and starts bleeding. A girl cannot believe what she has just seen and stares at the waiter. Peter picked up a new pair of chopsticks and continued eating his meal. The young girl is very impressed by Peter's move and admires him, as no one in her organization can do that. The eight-legged man is impressed and compliments his flashy skill as he walks over to the waiter's body. He admires Peter's skills and asks him what club he is from, offering him the chance to join the Glory Club. The eight-legged pretends to be friendly, but when he gets close enough to Peter, he pulls out his gun and starts shooting numerous bullets at Peter. Peter swiftly hides behind the table and throws a chili sauce bottle on the ground to save him from bullets. The eight-legged man laughs as the bullets go through the table when he sees the red liquid flowing from underneath it. The eight-legged man calls Peter a kid, thinking he can stop the bullets from falling from the table. Eight-legged smiles. He believes he has injured the young man and offers him one last chance to reveal his relationship with Peter. He then rushes behind the table to kill that young guy, but he is in shock after seeing that he is not there and realizes that it is chili sauce, not blood. Eight-legged rushes here and there in search of Peter. He checks behind the pillar, but no one is there. When he looks up, Peter spits chili sauce on his face, jumps on eight-legged, tricks his hand, and punches him on his gun-holding hand, which destroys the gun. After disarming him, Peter lands a nasty blow to his face. The eight-legged faints and can't see anything correctly, and he is bleeding from the mouth. Peter twists his head backward like he is breaking his neck, and the eight-legged person falls on the ground with his head facing backward. Peter looks at him and starts walking in the other direction. Eight-legged thinks he has faced countless opponents, but he has never seen a skilled fighter like this young guy. Eight-legged starts reminding his training sessions when he was a young guy, and his mentor was teaching them all that one day all will have a strong opponent, and they need to attack that opponent when he is distracted by something. Eight-legged reminds himself that he has created a unique technique to tackle such opponents, and only he can use that technique. That technique is that he could pin his opponent to the ground like a mixed martial arts fighter and twist them up until they were begging for their lives. His trainer pushed him further, claiming he should make his grip so tight that it could kill the opponent.